Welcome back to the Hill. The party that used to be in lockstep over military spending, of course, I'm talking about Republicans, is now in open warfare over the issue. Some Senate Republicans, led by Lindsey Graham, are pushing to raise the amount earmarked for the Pentagon amid the ongoing Ukraine war. This follows House Republicans putting a cap on Pentagon and Ukraine spending over the next 2 years in the debt ceiling compromise. Joining us now, Republican Congressman Ryan Zinke of Montana, also former Navy SEAL officer in SEAL Team 6. Good to see you, sir. I appreciate it. I'm trying to figure out, of all the things to cut, how cutting military spending right now is anything but an invitation to the Chinese, the Russians, and the Iranians.
Well, I agree. I think it's imprudent and unwise at the moment. You know, it's about a 3% raise, but you look at where the military is. We're seeing an advance of technologies in the battlefield. We're seeing the formation of drones, swarm warfare, AI. We're also seeing an aggressive China. And what's the plan in Ukraine? So at this point in our nation's history and national security, I'm not an advocate for cutting the military. I think the 3%, given it's a little bit below the inflation, is the right mark.
All right. Big picture here. We can't help but think of what today is, June 6th, 79th anniversary of D-Day. The situation you lay out is not much different than what America saw in the 1930s. Ronald Reagan, in his famous speech on the 40th anniversary, warned of once again forgetting the lessons of D-Day and the lessons of the rise of Nazi fascism and Imperial Japan. Are we forgetting those lessons once again, and therefore, as history repeats itself, we're going to have to pay a higher price later on?
Well, I agree in peace through strength. But strength also is looking to force, and I agree. You know, the Department of Defense has 800,000 DoD employees. That's twice as large as the United States Navy, larger than the Army and the National Guard. So there's places that we can reorganize, we can restructure, we can reprioritize, absolutely. But what we're facing right now, again, is a very aggressive China. We're out of position in China. A lot of our war-fighting stockpiles of munitions have been drained from the war in Ukraine. And technology is advancing rapidly on the battlefield. So our next battle likely is going to face drones, swarm warfare with drones, AI, and we need to be prepared to make sure we dominate the battlefield. And look, if we're going to put our troops into harm's way, we want to make sure that they have every tool, every piece of equipment, every leadership advantage to win decisively. That's the promise that we made our troops, and that's a promise we're going to deliver.
Well, it sounds as though, based on what you say it's the promise we're going to deliver. It sounds, based on what you've said, we're not delivering on that promise right now. We have a smaller Navy than China. We can go through the list. What I'm curious is, what do you think your fellow Republicans don't understand? How did the Republican Party get this sort of very scary, and I'll use that word myself, vein of isolationism into it?
Well, there's a concern, as there should be, over the debt. You know, we're talking now, we're at $31 trillion and growing. The debt deal will add another $4 trillion into that. Well, I think it's more of a where do we prioritize, what do we invest in? And I do agree in reorganizing the military, but we need to maintain our strength. And again, peace through strength means that we need a force that's adaptable, a force that's powerful, and hopefully we never have to use it. But if D-Day shows us one thing, is what happens when we're not prepared. It happens when, as a country, we don't have the resolve, and I don't want to ever see our troops going to battle again. But we need to be prepared. If they need to, we need to make sure that we can win decisively on the battlefield, and that's the right equipment, the right training, and the right budget to make sure we do succeed.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.